mistakes I continue.
Growing up was an interesting experience, like it is for everyone. But for me, particularly, the way that I dealt with issues was different. I threw tantrums, basically. I threw dangerous tantrums. I threw punches into walls, broke dressers, threw my head through a window once, dented a refrigerator, and just people's faces sometimes. Like, just super angry child. And when life treated me poorly, I responded with anger. I just had all this emotion and didn't know what to do with it. I didn't have a healthy way of getting it out. So after a while, I realized that wasn't working for me. When you turn 18, you can go to jail. And my mom made sure I knew that. She's like, honey, you can go to jail now. And I was like, ooh, that's right. I got all my get out of jail free cards when I was underage punching kids. Now there are big problems and big consequences to the way that I live my life. So I was trying to figure out what the root of my problem was. And it was that I felt too much. I was feeling and I was giving so much credence to how I felt that I felt like I had to do something out of response to that feeling. So if I was really actually hurt or sad, it came out as anger. If I was angry, it came out as anger. Sometimes I'd be happy, but towards somebody I didn't like, so I'd be angry. Sometimes something would just happen that's not anybody's fault, and I'd get mad. And it always resulted in violence. So to stop that, I decided to become less emotional. I just cut out all the bad feelings, some of the good ones, and just decided to use my mind a little bit more. So my life got a lot better thinking through things and through the process of what's going on, why am I feeling this way, what can I do to make my life better, what are my next steps. My life got better, but I was still kind of a bad person. So I just became a different kind of villain. I got very good at winning arguments. I got very good at trying to influence my friends through thought, by changing the way that they thought with the way that I thought. Now there are benefits to this. I got really smart. I got very intelligent. I got very good at talking my way into things and out of things. Got my way into some really great things, got my way into some really bad things. So over time, I started to realize maybe there's got to be something else, right? I can't be all in my feelings. Can't be caught up in my mind, because that doesn't lead me to very good places. And when I'm by myself or in a hard time and I'm all in my mind, I'm depressed. So I realized life can't just be about solving things through feelings and through thought. There's something that is still there when you're feeling and when you're thinking. Have you ever been caught up in your feelings, really mad, and knew that you were wrong? Like you just were like, the way I'm acting is not okay. I'm being a little crazy. Or the opposite, you're having thoughts and you can tell, actually, I don't feel so right about this, even though you're justified in what you're thinking. That happened to me pretty often, because I could always justify my anger. I could always find a reason why it was somebody else's fault, right? And then I would go, but wait, this is wrong. Even though it wasn't in my best interest to be wrong, even though it didn't make sense to be wrong, I knew it was wrong. Same thing with my feelings. I would feel this thing, but there was a deeper feeling just in the back here that was telling me, hey man, you gotta chill out. Maybe this isn't the right way to do this. That third thing is what we're gonna call spirit for the sake of tonight. Now the spirit has been looked at in many different ways throughout time. I think the first recording of the word spirit is actually in Hebrew. It's the word ruah, which means breath. It's the same word as breath as it is as spirit. And that's in the Hebrew Bible, right? And the idea is that God gave his breath to mankind to be in his presence in the present, to be involved with him in a life that is good. And when people separate from that, it's harder for them to feel or be a part of that ruah. You know what I mean? And you can feel the way that you are when you're in the present, when you're living right, when you're listening to that thing in the back of your mind that's telling you to do right. You feel like you can give life to. Now, the spirit for you might seem a little bit different. I'm not going to go into some big existential thing to make you believe anything. But there's definitely, I'm just here to prove to you that there is a third thing. And that third thing needs attention, it needs care, and it needs exercise. In the beginning of Western philosophy, there's this guy Plato, you guys might have heard of him. He had more of the traditional thought of spirit as this thing that's in your body that experiences the rest of life through your eyes, through your ears, through your senses. He actually said it was like being trapped in a cage. It's like the part of God in you trapped inside of the cage, which is your body, which is really kind of a cool perspective to take, you know, because then you get to see yourself more objectively. You are a spiritual being trapped inside of a body. The body has a mind, and the body has a body. Now, there's a newer thinker, his name's Watchman Nee. So he goes one step further and says, your spirit is trapped in your body and your mind. So you have these three aspects of humanity. He says it's your mind, your body, and your spirit. And all three of them speak. He says your mind speaks to you through reason, through thought, through logic. Your body speaks through sensation, through feelings. So when you get mad, do you feel it in your mind more or your body more? You feel it in your body, and then your mind might kind of play it up a little bit. One of the first things that I started to experience when I wanted to shut down my feelings and getting so aggressive was I need to recognize when I'm getting mad. So I'd start to get hot, you know, back of my neck hot. Some of you guys know what I'm talking about. You get that back in the neck hot, your shoulders start to swell up. If you got enough testosterone to pump those guys out, you start pacing a little bit. You don't even know why you're pacing. You're like, and then you're like, oh man, I'm mad, I need to calm down. I need to chill out a little bit. So if you're caught up in your feelings, that's the way that your body's talking to you. The same thing happens on a more trivial sense. Like if you put your hand on a stove, how does it talk to you? How does your body talk to you to tell you that's wrong? Ouch, which is a feeling, right? So your body speaks to you in feelings. Your mind speaks to you in reason, which is really helpful sometimes, right? It walks you through this whole process of, oh, I'm mad. I need to go do something else. It can help you out a lot, but it can also walk you into a lot of trouble because the mind can reason just about anything to just about anyone. And to you, your mind is probably the most reliable source to you. So if you're justified in your mind, you're probably right. Now the third thing again is spirit. And to Watchman Nee, the spirit speaks to you through your conscience, through what's intuitively right and wrong, regardless of how you're feeling or what you're thinking. Because it's really easy to mistake feelings for being your conscience. If I feel like something's wrong, or if I feel scared, something must be wrong. If I feel like this is a good thing, this must be right. But for a lot of people, they're actually ignoring that quiet voice that's speaking, simultaneously saying, slow down. Being quick to anger oftentimes is justified by, I'm just being myself, this is how I feel, and it doesn't integrate enough of, is how I feel justified through the mind, and is it right through the spirit? Is what I'm doing now going to contribute to continued happiness? To Watchman Nee, the spirit is the only infinite thing. It's the thing that's universal and never changes. As you grow up, your body grows up. I'm not going to look this good my whole life. I think I'm going to peak at 45, but then after that, it's probably all downhill. I'm just kidding. I'm going to look fly at 80. And your mind changes. The person that I was, my personality, my mindset when I was 18, very different than now. My mindset 3 days ago, very different than it is now. That changes too. But the spirit is always inclined towards good. Another person who thinks this, kind of jumps into this stream of thought, is Aristotle. Aristotle had this belief that the body and the mind and the spirit were all a little bit closer together. They were more like one being. For him, a spirit was basically articulated through purpose. So he said everything has a spirit, but mankind has a unique spirit, just like everything else has a unique spirit. And for him, the spirit of a thing is much like the purpose of a thing. A quick example of this is your eyes. If you're blind, you have eyes, right? But do they function the ways that eyes are supposed to function? No. So your eyes are only eyes by the way they look. That's it. But they're not actually functioning the way the eyes look. So when it comes to the spirit, he says, what is the spirit of man? What causes man to function the way that man is supposed to function? And that's a much deeper question than he really wanted to answer at the time. It's like, okay, well, if everything has a purpose, what's the purpose of man? First purpose he had was to reason. He said, mankind's the only creature on the planet that can reason. It's not to say that other animals can't think, it's to say that they don't build on that thought. Chimpanzees are making hammers at best out of tools. You don't see them making more and more advanced tools. Mankind made a hammer, and now we have iPhones. Now we have computers, cars, we're sitting in a cool AC building. Dope. We're able to build on the thoughts, not just of ourselves over time, but the thoughts of others. We can deduce what will happen next in a string of events based on what's happened in the past, which is really cool. He's like, okay, that's one thing that man has a purpose to do. That's part of his spirit. A man that doesn't reason, Aristotle fully believed, a man that could not reason or does not reason is a man in matter, but not in form. The second thing is to move towards an ultimate good. He says, I don't know why, I can't explain it, but for some reason, my conscience and everyone's conscience is moving towards an ultimate good. Unexplainable, not known why, but it seems to be universal. So when we talk about spirit, there's a lot of baggage attached to the claim, right? That there is a spirit. I've talked about it in a pretty objective way, or as much as I could, as much as you can talk about something that's been carrying the weight of mysticism forever. A lot of times when we talk about spirit, some people define it as your person inside of you that will go on to live for eternity. Great. Some people will define it as non-existent. I think that's probably the only argument that will not get you to a better place in life. The most successful people in the world believe in taking care of yourself, meaning taking care of your mind, taking care of your body, and taking care of this third thing. So some ways that happens is through meditation. Some ways that happens is through nature. Anybody else connect to nature? You go out there, yeah? Anybody like to look up at the stars at night? Right. You know, Neil deGrasse Tyson, the most spiritual thing I could find him saying was that every person, every week, should go out and stare into the cosmos and experience how wonderful the universe is. The spirit is something that only exists inside of the moment that you live in. Your body is pretty similar in that, which is why they can be confused. Your mind can live anywhere it wants. It can go and live 4 years ago, it can live in the future and be worried about things forever. Spirit is not about changing your perception of your experience, it's changing your experience of perception. It's changing the way that you see the things around you happening in a moment, much more than it is making yourself feel better about the moments that have just passed and the ones that are going to come. When you can get to a place where the past is irrelevant, the future is irrelevant, and the present is right here, then you're connecting to your spirit. And the more often you get there, the louder your spirit will get. The more comfortable you'll be in your space, and the quieter your mind and body will become. A couple ways of doing this. First way I did this was by listening to my conscience. So it'd be walking down the street and I'd see a piece of trash, and in my mind I think, pick it up. And then I go, or like I feel, pick it up. And I'm like, my mind says, no, I don't need to do that. I'm not going to do that. Find a reason not to do it. Then I was like, well, I'm trying to change my life. Let me listen. So I turn around and I pick it up and throw it away. I was like, oh, that felt pretty good. Look down the street. It is trashed. I'm like, please don't make me pick up all this trash. And I did. I went down the whole road and just listened and listened and listened. And then I started to receive more answers to these relationships that I was struggling with because I had built up and conditioned myself to listen to that voice. I was starting to work out these muscles of, okay, do this thing, do this thing, do this thing. Yes, yes, yes. And it always led me towards my greatest good. Go hang out with your mom. Go do nice things for her. I don't want to. I don't really like her right now. I don't care. Go do it. Cool. Go and do it. I feel like she's not being nice to me. Doesn't matter. Keep your mouth shut. Be nice. Cool. Worked out. Same thing happens now that I'm married. It's like, oh man, I want to just do this thing. And God's like, nope, do this thing. My intuition, my spirit speaks to me. Next is meditation, mindfulness. It's the idea of taking yourself out of your experience of what's going on in your head and bringing yourself to the present. Experiencing life as it comes, not getting too involved with your feelings, and not getting too involved with your thoughts. Having the experience of realizing that those things are temporary and you don't have to do anything to them. Just show up and then they go. And then you get to experience the feeling that Watchman Nee had, where he's like, all these things are coming. Your mind and your body are going to keep speaking, but they're speaking to somebody. And that somebody is you. And you get to choose what you're going to listen to and what you're not going to listen to. So being around things you can appreciate. Usually seeing something new will do that. The first time you see something, especially like babies, it's babies for me. When babies start doing stuff, I'm like, my heart melts, and I just am so focused on what they're doing, and are they gonna start, like, I don't know, moving. It's nothing exciting ever, but maybe they spit up on themselves or whatever it is, but it's my first time seeing that baby do anything. Super cool. So you get to be in that moment, and I can feel myself caring less about the things that take me out of that moment. We're trying to live good lives as good people, not just for ourselves, but for our community and for the people around us. It's harder to ignore your body when it's hurting and when it's not doing well. It's a little easier to forget about your mental health and how that's going. It's extremely hard to notice when spiritually you're not doing well. If any one of these three things falls to the wayside too far, we hurt ourselves and we hurt others. So what I'm presenting to everyone today is just a lot of options. There are so many ways to tap into your spirit. I just want you guys to know that it's a real part of life that needs attention, that needs work, that needs effort. But it's through being spiritually fit that we can enjoy moments like these in our lives, that we can enjoy life as a whole as it's happening.